This is brain food at its finest, I tell you. The man who's given our brains that much needed protein boost, adrenaline rush, whatever you want to call it, is here in our studio. Cannot be happier to be having this conversation with the absolutely incredible Siddhartha Basu. 1985 was when the first quiz show went on air. The first time ever that a whole generation was introduced to how to answer a question that was asked by someone who you could not talk to. And now, of course, there's Quizzer of the Year, which is digital, completely interactive, and at home, so to speak. So that's I was, first of all, again, cannot thank you enough for the time. But I was speaking to a band that had started in Analogue times called Strings. They had said a very, very, very interesting thing.
Pakistani group.
The Pakistani group.
Yes.
They'd said that when we started, and they had just released an album. So I asked, what's the difference between the music then, music now, and promoting it more importantly? They said, when we started, it was a push medium, where to push it to 3 places: magazine, TV, radio, and maybe one more. Now it's a pull medium because the democratization of information has become so truly complete that there are so many ways that you have to pull the audiences in. Is it true for quizzing as well?
It's true for any content that you're doing on any medium, more so for quizzing and anything you do on the audiovisual medium. Which is why we developed the app, and we tested it and so on and so forth. Thereafter, one of the reasons for this collaboration with Sony Live is that they bring to the table all the other aspects which are in their hands, which is the promotion, which is, the cross-promotion with programs, which is what else they can do it. We're using their infrastructure to put it out there and whatever it is. And you adapt technologies. The zonal rounds, for instance, like I do, it's shot on a video conference platform.
Sure.
But yet you have games which are, sort of graphically manipulated. You have, with all the bells and whistles that you expect in a studio show, you have, you try and build the drama in that particular way.
Sure.
So you use that, and you're using what the platform like Sony Live has then to put it not only on Sony Live, wherever else they can put it so that people can watch. So you need all of that to be able to make it work.
Sure.
However, is that essential? Maybe it's not necessary for any kind of product in any way that you do. But in terms of quizzing, certainly this business of playing the app anytime and organizing incentives for it, rewards, to be able to build it up in the way, and it's a massive reward and recognition that they're going to get for being Quizzer of the Year.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you know, first they announced that it was going to be, the scholarship for the winning team was going to be 1 crore.
Wow.
Scholarship worth.
Wow.
Then, when we were recording the finals, they just find out they had humongous amounts for each team.
Absolutely.
So, which is in terms of value for scholarship, that itself is humongous, unprecedented as far as I know.
For sure.
But apart from that, is the recognition.
Absolutely.
And once that gets promoted and it's figured out, hopefully it'll have a sort of effect on making people play the game every day, figuring it out, and hopefully expanding their area of awareness in a factual way.
So tell us, it'd be absolutely we want to go behind the curtains of what happens in those frenetic rooms where all of these questions are chosen, the content team as you call them. What's the process?
It's actually reasonably calm. Because you do a lot of the homework before. We have a whole team, to do the research, to do the creating content, the question and answers and everything else that goes along with it. You have to think imaginatively to capture people's attention in what you're asking, but you also have to verify each facet of information.
So how does it go? Is it a funnel system where everything goes into that funnel and then it's funneled into specific...
In a manner of speaking, everybody has to follow a certain drill, and then at the editorial level, it all gets vetted at our end. Then it gets put into a database with different levels. All that is done and figured out according to categories of subjects and everything. And then it goes through a mandatory auditor check, because some of the big shows, certainly even Quizzer of the Year, every question goes through a whole sort of auditor process. You know? So when it comes back and figures it out, the system is such that you try and do it evenly across. So you try and make sure there's a mix for everybody. On something like KBC, for instance, you have a facility on the machine, so you just click make, and it puts together a stack. When I say stack, 15 questions
Sure.
for a given person or whatever it is. You may have override. That means, somebody from a certain part of the country who would just not be aware of something very local elsewhere. So you can, remove that, you can change that. Then after that you go. So it's not so frenetic at that point of time.
Sure.
So you have the question, you have the content, and we build systems like that, that you see it's like that. And then you have to play with it. And a good host can play with the information,
Yeah.
can play with whatever is going on.
Absolutely.
And make it come alive, not only for the sake of the competition or the competitor in a supportive way, but also for the viewer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be talking about once we get back, because Siddhartha Basu as a presenter has been an inspiration for, again, a whole generation about how to do the dignity bit and the warmth bit. It's like an adrak ki chai, but it's in a china cup. So, so we're going to come back and talk about that right here on 94.3 Radio. Or you stay, okay? We were talking about hosting. There's theatre experience. There's the theatre action group. There's Barry John. There's that absolutely incredible performance of Oedipus that we've been, honored to have seen. That helps, does it not?
I think so. I think stagecraft, in a sense of, sort of presentation, pitching, that certainly helps. And I've also had the pleasure of working with a variety of kinds of hosts, some with theatre experience, some with only film experience, some from very varied kind of backgrounds, and coaching them how to host a knowledge show. And it's an interesting experience. I don't do it in a way that I expect them to do it in the way I would, but at the same time to bring to bear. And I think a host brings many things, onto the table and to combine them in one role. One is that you have to be literally a host. You have to make people feel welcome, not only the contestant, but also the viewers. You have to be welcome. You have to connect the dots. You have to put in the introductory bits. You have to do all that. So you're a host in that sense, literally. Number two, you are a ringmaster and a master of ceremonies. So, the high points, the low points, sort of you have to put it up accordingly and do it like that. And then you have what I call the playmaker. Guys, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to figure it out. You do this and you do that. Oh, you missed that, but you can try and do that. You're the playmaker. You make it interesting for the people who are part of the experience doing that. Then, on another level, you're a running commentator. You're saying what's happening on the game at different points without losing sight of the track that most people are following and how it's going on. Beyond that, you're a storyteller because, a lot of people have backstories and, what is going into that, or the X factor. And then finally, you're also the umpire. Because you have to be an umpire at the end of the day. You have to also in many ways make things come alive, the information, the content. So you have to combine these roles together, and a lot of people are not used to stitching together in real time.
Yes.
So in that sense, something like theatre or hosting live events, that makes, that, once you start, you can't just keep saying stop and, sort of like a cinema, do a cut and then do it. You have that luxury if it's not live, but that's not an ideal way to do it because, the other flow has its own rhythm and its whole natural charm and spontaneity which you're trying to reach.
Absolutely.
And that's very important that you try and do that. And so even on the Quizzer of the Year, we've had the zonal rounds are conducted by Colonel Vembu Shankar, who's been an expert. He does some live shows, but the first time he's done it on the audiovisual medium. And Joy Bhattacharya, who is, of course, he's pretty seasoned. But in terms of hosting a show solo on a streaming platform, perhaps it's the first time. I'm not sure, but they've done a great job. And I enjoyed working with them. The last 7, I'm afraid Sony Live has asked me to conduct, which we've just finished recording. So you'll have to suffer the dinosaur hosting that quiz.
I think learning
next week.
I think learning is the word that we're looking for. But finally, you think with the whole digitization of information and the consumption of content, so to speak, which is becoming so internal that everything's made and consumed in the living room, you think the stagecraft is taking a bit of a backseat? Do you think people understand what stagecraft is anymore?
For any kind of presentation, you have to suit it. Radio, for instance, what you're doing now, it's the equivalent of stagecraft to be able to, on a oral medium, how do you sort of, build it, present it, stitch it together? So that has its own craft. So stagecraft, I don't literally mean a stage and how you do it.
Yeah, of course.
But in terms of how you conduct yourself.
So what I meant was the eye contact. You know, the fact that you have the importance of eye contact, the importance of the silences. You know, using them.
It's very, very important. And you know,
but is it getting lost?
Not at all. It's very important. The masters of, say, the television medium, which is a multi-camera medium, and you do it in different stages, is when the host is able to strike a connect one-on-one basis with the viewer.
Absolutely.
And that is something that I go through with each one of our hosts. We've worked in 9 languages, you know.
Absolutely.
I work with people from all kinds of backgrounds in these, and one of the first things I say, whether it's an Oprah, whether it's an Amitabh Bachchan, whoever it is, this is one of the things that, you know, is key, which is that in a conversation, how you thread in the viewer as the single person who is the third part of the conversation is very important.
Yeah.
On, say, radio, you would do it as you address some things. It's like a stage whisper or an aside.
Absolutely.
But here it could just be a look. Think about it. Watch Mr. Bachchan closely and carefully.
Absolutely.
There are just looks that he might give to the camera or to the audience. It doesn't have to be verbalized. There are certain silences or to include people in a certain way. That's very important. And that's part of what I'm calling the stagecraft in any medium.
Absolutely.
To knit that all together, to be able to connect it.
To appeal to the voyeur in you, which says that you are there dropping in on that conversation. I think that's the finest. And of course, we have been speaking to the finest. If you were able to pick out those nuggets and shine them a little, I'm sure they'll help. Not just, I mean, this is life, isn't it, finally? And of course, Quizzer of the Year is what we're talking about. That's what Mr. Siddhartha Basu's latest offering to our grey matter is. We are hoping you'll taste it nicely. And we are also hoping to have a lot more of you, Mr. Basu. Thank you very much for your time. This has been absolutely wonderful and enlightening.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Sarthak. Thank you to everybody who's listening.
We're taking a break and coming right back with what else? More music, because hey, the corner of the lips moving northwards. Ooh, what a look, man.
94.3 Radio 1.